Due to recent YouTube updates, comments and likes have become more important than ever. I beg you to please consider doing exactly that. I read every comment that you write me and answer whenever possible and or need. I'm also open to suggestions for future content. My videos are created without the use of AI, so please support your fellow human content creator against clanker slop. Thank you. The trash heap was probably one of the most interesting parts of the factory. At least to Doey the Doughman. It had all the most fun knickknacks and usable scrap a toy could need. But not just that, it often led to old forgotten passages. Just like the one Doey was walking down right now. The door had been buried under tons of scrap that had tumbled over in an avalanche caused by him to get rid of a few automatons from the doctor. Uncharted territory promised the finding of snacks, food even. His gaze shifted to the moldy, cracked walls. A plaque barely legibly read, "Mind the Clown." That rang a few bells, but not enough to concern any of Doey's personalities. At least not until he stopped before cutout. It depicted a cartoonish clown, androgynous, but once the speak button was pressed, a female voice shouted, "Hey kids, do you want a balloon animal?" The clown had shoulder-long red hair and a white painted face with a red plus symbol on her lips, and a big blue nose. Interestingly enough, she didn't have any conventionally creepy details, such as the over-the-top eye makeup that other clowns had. And thanks to the plus symbol on her lips, she also didn't have that uncanny permanent smile normal clowns had too. Her right eye had an X shape for a pupil, while the left a minus symbol. Her jester-like outfit was covered in numbers of various sizes and colors. He pressed the button again. "But you're gonna get one when you count to 10 with me." He deadpanned. Okay, so a math clown. Great. He sighed and continued down the hallway. The only thing worrying him now was the simple fact that cutouts were reserved only for toys with a bigger body's counterpart. To his knowledge, he had never seen a mind bigger bodies. So wherever she probably was locked in here, which worried the Doughman immensely. But he didn't stop. The curiosity was just too strong. Finally, he reached the door at the other end of the hallway. It was a security door, its metal half pried open. Peeking inside, he saw nothing but gaping darkness. "This is really a dumb idea," sighed Doey. "Yeah, I agree. That's why we're doing it." Silently, Doey squeezed his malleable form through the gap, finding a concrete floor on the other side. It was too dark though, and the faintest of hints of light only came through the crack. "Definitely will lose that," he mumbled after giving the metal door another look. He formed a nose on his face to test the air. It smelled of plastic, oil, and glue. A sign that this wasn't just an empty floor. Doey took a few curious steps into the darkness until thunk! He slammed headfirst into something semi-solid. He fell backwards with a loud gasp. In the same moment, the clanking of old electricity turning back on made him shiver. Clong, 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 every clong accompanied with more massive pillars of light activating. "Yeah, we shouldn't be here," he mumbled. He had bumped into you, at least one version of you. Mind the Clown. The entire room, no, the entire hall was a warehouse. Massive shelves and a walkway to a control room lined the walls, while the floor itself was inhabited by... He quickly gave a count, while his fear rose. 100 identical Mind the Clown life-size dolls. All seemingly inactive. Standing there, only slight wear and tear on their faces and body. Unmoving, staring at the floor. Uneasy, Doey stood up. He had activated a motion sensor that returned energy to the place. The shelves were filled with mechanical parts, devices, and boxes with no labels. Okay then, this is not what I expected. An army of clowns, or at least a battalion, standing 2 meters by 2 meters spaced apart from each other. All looked the same. Mind the Clown, just not a cartoon cutout anymore. He exhaled. Well, let's see what else this place holds. Now, with the light, Doey began searching the most interesting place that he could think of. And the one area where there probably weren't any clowns. The control room. Without getting close to any of your bodies, he approached the metal steps leading to it. Clang, clang, clang. The old metal shook and groaned, but it wasn't rusty just yet. So, perhaps, just his mind was playing some tricks on him. He entered through a small green metal door. The control room contained a large computer console and a metal shutter that read Body and Mind. A tape was placed under the TV with a VCR. He knew this is how Playtime co-employees log their thoughts. Doey took it and pushed it into the machine. After a short boot up, the familiar voice and face of Dr. Harvey Sawyer appeared on screen. Doey's eyes narrowed. Log 13 on Project 776-A2-G. We successfully retrieved enough subjects from Playcare that seem fitting for the project. At least they're the closest personality-wise to our ideal I could find in the time Leaf has given me. Their surgery into their bigger bodies counterparts are already planned and ready to go. We will be removing the girls' brains and placing them into a shared conscious machine we dubbed Body. Fitting as their new identity will be that of a clown doll named Mind. The girls have displayed remarkable cooperation skills that, in my estimate, could lead to a much more controllable experiment than 1322 Doey the Doorman. Plus, the technology used in creating Mind the Clown is incredibly powerful. It is my opinion that it shouldn't be wasted on creating children's toys, but... oh well, science often has to compromise. The tape ended unceremoniously. Doey, meanwhile, blinked. He was intrigued. I know you're thinking it, mumbled Doey. Yep. I'm curious too. Ugh, seriously? Fine. I admit, I'm intrigued too. Looks like for us we agree on everything. Doey turned around, walking towards the console. A black screen displayed the words "Calibration complete, initiating." The prompt showed yes and no. Doey pressed the Y button on the console and then enter. Almost instantly, 200 eyes simultaneously opened, 200 arms reached for the sky and stretched, and 100 mouths yawned, before 100 heads turned towards Doey, who by now was descending the stairs from the control room. 100 sets of lips curled open, not quite smiles, not quite frowns. The warehouse hummed faintly as though his activation of the console had forced stale wires to breathe once more. Doey froze mid-step on the stairs. For once, all three of his voices had nothing to say. Silence, save for the soft whir of servos winding to life. Then, a female voice whispered, "He's staring at us." One of the bodies tilted its head far to the side, hands clasped behind her back as she leaned forward like a curious schoolchild. Her tone was light, playful, and eager. "No, he's gawking," another corrected. A second body strode out from the row, chin high, arms spread as though to show off her painted jester outfit. "Of course he is! Aren't we magnificent?" Doey blinked. His eyes darted across the rows of identical dolls, each one beginning to shift in subtle, unnerving ways. Some twisted their wrists as if warming up stiff joints. Others stretched their arms overhead, mechanical joints clicking like bones. A third voice cut in, low and sharp. This body took 2 steps forward, fists clenched and jaw tight. "He's trespassing! An intruder poking at what doesn't belong to him!" Doey stiffened. I wasn't trying to break anything. I'm scavenging. You know, looking for food." The warehouse rippled with motion. A chorus of soft chuckles passed between them, but the laughter wasn't uniform. Some tilted their heads back and laughed boldly, others just smirked with shoulders shaking. 7 shades of humor spilling out of 100 throats. "Scavenging?" One purred. A body swayed her hips dramatically as she stepped closer, fingers tracing down the front of her outfit as if smothering wrinkles that weren't there. "Always taking, never giving, aren't you? What do we get out of it?" Another giggle almost hopped in place, her arms thrown wide. "We should let him stay. He looks funny, squishy. We could play with him until he falls apart." Doey flinched at that. His malleable fingers twitched at his sides, kneading nervously. The way they all watched him felt like standing in a crowd with nowhere to run. A fourth body slouched where she stood, head rolling lazily against her shoulder. Her voice came out slow, almost a yawn. "Oh, I just could do nothing. Just let him figure out himself. It's too much effort." Doey narrowed his eyes. "You're not just one, are you?" All the heads tilted at once, like a field of flowers swaying in the same wind. But only one answered, voice steady and factual, her hands busy fidgeting with imaginary equations she sketched in her hair. She sketched in her head. "We're 1, and 7, and 100. A mind split, but whole." "Doey the Doughman, you're the one who woke us, right? So now, you're speaking to us all." The Doughman's frown deepened, his malleable cheeks twitched. "I'm free too." That made several bodies stir. The one with pride straightened taller. The wrathful one lowered her fists but kept glaring. And the flirtatious one leaned in closer with a glint in her mismatched eyes. 3. She purred, intrigued. "So you know the weight of being many." "Or he's lying! Just thought I'd mention that." The wrathful one snapped, slamming her fist into the open palm. Doey huffed, hands on his hips. "Believe what you want, but scavenging's why I'm here. We need food." The bodies shifted restlessly, some pacing, some crossing their arms, some crouching to peer at him like predators. The air bristled with tension until The flirty one's laughter cut through, low and warm. Well then, she said, stepping closer with an exaggerated sway. Well, we could strike a bargain. Her painted lips curled into a smirk. You want food? That's fine. But what do we get? Doey felt his cheeks stretch tighter as heat crept into his dough-like skin. He had the strangest feeling this conversation was about to become complicated. Doey shifted uneasily. The rows of bodies moved like a tide, some restless, some impatient, some simply watching. 100 painted faces turned, eyes blinking in uneven rhythm. You can't possibly trust him, snapped the angry personality again, pacing with sharp mechanical stomps, arms crossed so tight her painted joints squeaked. He comes in here, takes what he wants, leaves us with nothing. Parasite, I say. Parasite? Another scoffed. Pride, tossing her head back, hands planted on her hips. Please, look at him. He should be honored to even stand in our presence. She struck a theatrical pose, 1 foot forward, chin lifted to the rafters. Doey rubbed the back of his doughy neck. He muttered, Pretty sure I didn't come here to be insulted. You didn't come here to be complimented either, hissed the envious personality. Crouching low, her fingers drumming against the concrete as she grinned at him with mischief. Though watching you squirm is entertaining. Sloth's personality came slow, her body still leaning lazily against another, head tilting half-lidded. Too much talking. If he wants food, just give him some. No! Greed interrupted, her hands clawing into the air like she was already grasping invisible treasure. If he takes, we take too. He has to pay. Everything has a price. Are we annoying like this too, guys? Muttered Doey so quietly, none of the hundreds of you noticed. The chorus of voices rose, the tension stacking on tension. Doey's hands curled into fists, his 3 voices muttering over each other inside his head. This was getting nowhere. But then, Lust stepped forward, controlling one of the bodies perfectly. Not rushed like wrath, not stiff like pride, smooth and deliberate. She closed the distance slowly, hips swaying, her painted lips curving into something sly. Calm yourselves, she purred, and the others fell quiet. Not silenced, but muted, grumbling, as if allowing her the floor. I mean, we all can agree on one thing, can't we? Her head tilted, eyes fixed on Doey. He's interesting. Doey froze. He definitely didn't like how that one said it. Her hand lifted, mechanical fingers grazing under his chin with a feather-like touch. Her eyes gleamed, both symbols narrowing. You said you're 3 inside one body, right? She leaned closer, her breath mechanical but oddly warm. Then you know how rare it is to meet someone who understands. Someone like us. Doey swallowed hard. The dough around his throat shifted nervously. He stammered. Well, it's not the same. We're in one body, you're in like 100, and we're only 3. Yeah, well, maybe. She hummed, her voice a melody of curiosity and hunger. Close enough, though. Close enough to make me wonder, what it would feel like. Her fingers trailed down his chest. He jolted at the sensation, not pain, but strangely grounding. Behind her, Wrath scoffed, fists tight. Manipulation! You're trying to distract us! Distraction? You smirked over her shoulder. Or focus. Sometimes a single path is better than 100 voices fighting. Doey found himself caught between retreating and leaning in. Every instinct screamed to back away, yet every step he didn't take forward felt deliberate. The other bodies shifted restlessly. Some hissed, some sneered, some leaned in with faint curiosity. But lust only pressed on. You want food. We want... call it attention. Affection? I think adults would call it fun. We're adults now, right? Everyone's at least 18? Doey nodded, and the 100 of you nodded. Yeah. Math, everybody. Just do the math. She tapped his chest lightly with one painted finger. So that seems fair, doesn't it? Doey blinked. Are you bargaining with me? She grinned wider. Exactly. A fair trade. The warehouse echoed with whispers, the other personalities muttering, arguing, but none stepped forward to cut her off. It was clear, for now, lust had the reins. The others fell silent, no one fought her for the lead. No one cut her words short. That was the rule. In that moment, you were no one but lust. You stepped closer, your bodies moving with you like a tide. One doll tilted her head coyly, another dragging painted fingers slowly down her own chest. A third swayed her hips in mocking rhythm as if daring Doey to look. But the voice that carried belonged to you alone. You want to scavenge. You sung, the words low, heavy, and playful. Then show us why we should let you convince us. Help us get along. Doey shifted uneasily. 3 voices clearly murmuring in conflict behind his doughy eyes. But he didn't back away. Not from you. You smiled. At once, about a dozen bodies moved. One doll circling behind him, hands ghosting just above his soft shoulders. Another crouched low, peering up at him with lashes fluttering and lips parted. A third leaned close enough that her painted cheek nearly brushed his, whispering nothing but a playful sigh. Every motion was calculated, slow, and deliberate, designed to overwhelm. Oh, poor Doeman. You teased, several mouths speaking in near unison, the same tone spilling from many throats. 3 against 7, or more, 1 against 100. Doesn't seem fair, does it? Doey's eyes darted, his doughy arms twitching as though he couldn't decide whether to shield himself or surrender. He swallowed thickly, though he had no throat to dry. One of his voices cracked through the tension. You're all crazy. The nearest body giggled, a sweet sound muffled by the painted plus sign across her lips. You clearly like it. You pressed, every word dripping with certainty. A hand slid against his arm, smearing him faintly with the lingering oil and dust of your warehouse shell. Another doll's fingers trailed across the metal plate of her chest, tapping out a rhythm as if counting numbers only you knew. The third reached to cup his chin, gently guiding his gaze towards the center of the sea of faces. Towards you. Just relax. We'll make you feel wanted. And then you can take a couple of scraps. It's a fair trade. The other yous hummed behind you, but none fought for control. This was yours to lead, yours to command. Doey's body stiffened as one hand, your hand, brushed along his side. His voices bickered louder, their tone a blur of resistance and intrigue, but his body betrayed him. He didn't step away. And with that, your bodies leaned in closer, 100 shadows pressing forward, each one waiting for the inevitable touch to deepen. Doey tried to step back, but the moment he shifted, your bodies closed in tighter, hands pressed against his arms, his chest, his shoulders, gentle but insistent, guiding him where you wanted. One body wrapped her arm around his middle, her painted cheek nuzzling against his side with a soft hum. Another slipped behind him, looping arms over his shoulders and resting her chin on top of his doughy head, lips brushing against the side of his face in a teasing, near kiss. And then the first pair of lips pressed to him. Quick, fleeting, right against his jaw. Before his mind could process it, another pair of lips caught the other side of his face, a kiss warmer, slower, lingering just enough to leave him frozen. A third doll reached for his doughy hand, pressing a painful peck on the back of it, like mockery of a courtly manner. The sound of painted lips smacking against his soft skin echoed through the warehouse, multiplied 100-fold by the stillness of the walls. Every touch was light, playful, but there were so many. He could no longer tell which body belonged to which motion. "Stop fighting!" you breathed, your true voice slipping through the tide of movement. "Let us have you! Just for a moment. It'll be fun." Doey's three voices scrambled together in panic protest, but his body sagged under the tide of affection. One doll kissed along his temple. Another brushed her lips against the curve of his jaw. A third pressed softly against the corner of his mouth, daring him to turn just a fraction closer. Doey shivered, and then, finally, there was some crack in his resistance. It was Kevin who first gave up fighting. His doughy arms twitched, then wrapped clumsily around the nearest body that had kissed him. The other dolls answered instantly, hugging and snuggling, their painted faces burring against his chest, his shoulders, his neck. It was a storm of lips and soft presses, landing one after another until he was lost in them. Several voices whispered in chorus, husky and pleased, "There we go, good boy." Doey's legs trembled, and though all three of his inner voices still weren't fully agreeing with each other, his face flushed darker, betraying him entirely. He was already lost, smothered beneath your affection, drowning in it. Your bodies closed around him in a warm, painted cage. Everywhere he turned, there was another smile, another pair of lips, just eagerly waiting. One kissed the curve of his belly, another pressed gently against his temple, another brushed his leg. The affection overlapped until it blurred, until he couldn't separate one touch from the next. Doey tried to speak, but his words broke apart into muffled gasps as another body finally stole a one true kiss. It was soft, reverent, insistent, holding him in place. And when it ended, another mouth immediately caught him again, before he could even breathe. Short, sweet, dizzying kisses piled on top of each other like waves against the shore. His arms twitched again, doughy and unsteady before finally giving in. He hugged one of your bodies tight, burning himself against her painted cheek, while the rest pulled closer to claim whatever space was left. Snuggled, squeezes, lips pressed to every bit of his doughy frame that they could reach. Even his hands weren't safe. Several bodies took turns kissing his palms, his fingers, and his wrists. Doey's breathing came racked, his usual sharp humor lost under the tide of touches. 3 voices inside him muttering in faint agreement that, yeah, this was quite enjoyable. And then one last body slipped in closer, pulling his chin down to meet her. This kiss was slower, lingering, and full. The kind of kiss that blurred the rest of the world into nothing but heat and closeness. Doey practically melted into it, legs wobbling. And your chorus whispered all at once, slow and satisfied. Good boy. Your touches became more demanding, more intimate. And this is where Doey's memories became muddy. Hey, you reached the end of the video. That makes you part of an exclusive club. Our secret password is Cheap Thrills. Put the secret message in your comment below to tell fellow members you watched the video until the very end. Lastly, before I say goodbye, I would normally shout out my channel members. However, due to losing monetization, I currently do not have access to both channel memberships as well as a list of previous channel members. Nevertheless, I'm eternally grateful to the channel members I used to have, and in the case memberships get reinstated, I hope I'll see you again. Thank you for watching.